Welcome back to Future Business School's Book Bites. Today, we'll be diving deep into The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, a groundbreaking book that explores how trauma affects the body and mind. Van der Kolk, a renowned psychiatrist, shares insights on how trauma impacts our mental and physical health and how healing is possible. This video will walk you through 20 key lessons from the book, offering practical examples so you can understand how trauma works and how you can begin healing. One of the book's key points is that trauma isn't just a psychological experience, but is also stored in the body. It manifests in physical ways, affecting our nervous system and overall health.
For example, people who experience childhood trauma often report chronic pain, headaches, or digestive issues in adulthood. The body holds on to traumatic memories, even if the mind forgets or suppresses them. Van der Kolk explains how trauma affects the brain's wiring. The parts of the brain responsible for survival, like the amygdala, become hyperactive, constantly scanning for threats.
In real life, this can explain why people with PTSD may overreact to minor stimuli. For example, a loud noise might trigger a flashback for someone who has been in combat, as their brain is wired to perceive danger even in safe environments. Trauma triggers the body's fight, flight, or freeze response. When trauma is unresolved, this stress response stays on high alert, even in non-threatening situations.
A real-world example is someone who has survived an abusive relationship and now has an exaggerated response to criticism or conflict. Their body and mind are stuck in survival mode, reacting as if every situation is life-threatening. Dissociation is a common coping mechanism for trauma. Van der Kolk explains that when trauma is too overwhelming, the mind disconnects from reality to protect itself.
In everyday life, this could be seen in someone who spaces out or feels numb during stressful situations. They might not even remember parts of their day because dissociation has kicked in to shield them from emotional pain. Van der Kolk emphasizes that trauma survivors need to feel safe to begin the healing process. The nervous system has to learn that the threat is over and safety can be restored.
In real life, this might mean creating a calm environment at home or in therapy, where a trauma survivor can feel physically and emotionally secure before they can start opening up. Trauma deeply impacts how people relate to others. Survivors may struggle with trust, attachment, and intimacy, often pushing others away even when they crave connection.
For example, someone who has experienced betrayal in childhood may find it difficult to maintain stable relationships as an adult. They may fear abandonment or betrayal, even in loving partnerships. Healing through mindfulness.
Mindfulness is a powerful tool in trauma recovery. Van der Kolk explains how practices like meditation and yoga can help trauma survivors reconnect with their bodies and regulate their emotions.
A practical example could be someone practicing yoga to manage their PTSD symptoms. By focusing on their breath and bodily sensations, they gradually learn to calm their nervous system and feel more present in their body.
Van der Kolk advocates for trauma-informed therapy, particularly therapies that involve the body, like EMDR, which stands for eye movement, desensitization and reprocessing, and somatic experiencing.
For example, EMDR has been shown to be highly effective for people with PTSD. It helps reprocess traumatic memories so they're no longer as emotionally triggering, allowing survivors to move forward with their lives. Trauma changes your worldview.
Trauma can alter a person's worldview, making them see the world as unsafe or unpredictable. This can lead to hypervigilance, where a person is constantly on guard expecting bad things to happen.
Imagine someone who has been in a car accident and now finds it difficult to drive or even be a passenger. Their perception of the road as dangerous dominates their mind, even when they're in a safe car with a careful driver.
Since trauma is stored in the body, Van der Kolk argues that body-based therapies like yoga or dance are essential for healing. Movement can help release stored tension and trauma.
In real life, someone might find relief from trauma by joining a dance class or starting a yoga practice. These activities allow them to express and release emotions that are difficult to put into words. Trauma affects how memories are stored. Sometimes, traumatic events aren't remembered as a cohesive story, but rather as fragments, like sounds, images, or physical sensations.
In real life, someone might remember the smell of smoke from a fire they experienced, but not recall the entire event. This fragmented memory can trigger intense emotional reactions without them understanding why. Van der Kolk emphasizes that healing from trauma is a gradual process. There are no quick fixes, and it requires patience, commitment, and support.
A practical example is someone going through therapy for years before they start feeling relief. It's not a linear process, but over time, they can regain control over their lives and emotions. Trauma can cause people to become disconnected from their bodies. Learning to reconnect with and trust your body is a key part of healing.
For example, someone who has experienced sexual trauma might feel uncomfortable in their own skin. By gradually practicing body awareness exercises like yoga or Tai Chi, they can begin to reconnect with their body in a positive way. Shame is a common emotion associated with trauma. Survivors often blame themselves for the traumatic events, which can lead to self-loathing and withdrawal from relationships.
In real life, a trauma survivor might isolate themselves socially because they feel unworthy of love or connection, believing their trauma makes them damaged. Addressing this shame is crucial for recovery. Van der Kolk stresses that healing from trauma isn't something you can do alone. Community and social support play a critical role in the recovery process.
A real-life example could be joining a trauma support group where survivors share their experiences and support each other's healing journey. These connections help break the isolation that trauma often creates. Although trauma can be devastating, Van der Kolk explains how some people experience post-traumatic growth, becoming stronger and more resilient after working through their trauma.
In real life, consider someone who has survived a life-threatening illness. They may come out of the experience with a deeper appreciation for life and a greater sense of purpose. Van der Kolk explains that trauma can weaken the immune system, leading to increased vulnerability to illness. Chronic stress and unresolved trauma can manifest in physical ailments.
For instance, people with unresolved trauma may be more prone to autoimmune disorders or chronic fatigue because their bodies are constantly in a state of stress. Childhood trauma can have lifelong effects, influencing a person's self-esteem, relationships, and mental health well into adulthood.
For example, adults who experienced neglect as children may struggle with feelings of worthlessness and have difficulty forming trusting relationships. Van der Kolk highlights the importance of creativity in the healing process. Art, music, and writing can provide a safe outlet for expressing and processing trauma.
In real life, trauma survivors may find that painting or journaling helps them make sense of their emotions and express feelings that are too difficult to verbalize. Finally, Van der Kolk calls for trauma-informed care in all aspects of society, including schools, workplaces, and healthcare systems. Understanding how trauma affects people can lead to more compassionate and effective support.
For example, teachers who are trained in trauma-informed practices can better support students who have experienced trauma, helping them feel safe and succeed academically. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Future Business School's Book Bites. Healing is possible, and with the right tools and support, you can move forward in your journey of recovery.